Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than Gwen Stacy, based off her appearance in the Into the Spider-Verse movie, one of my favourite, if not my very favourite Spider-Man movie of all time. Now bear in mind before we begin, this is a third-party unlicensed product. That means the company BulletHead doesn't hold the intellectual property rights to call this figure Gwen Stacy, or indeed put the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse logo on the box. That's why you're seeing Miss Stacy here. Now I did pick up mine from toyswonderland.com. She's in stock, ready to ship right now. This isn't a promotional video though. I have purchased this particular figure with my own money. This is a review of a product that's available on the open market. Now, this figure has an overly white aesthetic to the costume, and you're probably thinking, Justin, how on earth are you going to film this? Well, keen-eyed viewer, you will be seeing today the ever-elusive but always requested dark background, so I won't be using the white for anything other than this intro clip, because already as it stands it's quite hard to see the box. But with all of that out of the way, if you do enjoy seeing really early Hot Toys, third-party and sideshow content, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon right there below the description of this video. Now without further ado, what we're gonna do next is pop the box flat in the light box and do the unboxing. And here we have the box art for Gwen Stacy. Now as you can see, it kind of mirrors the look of her suit with the black and white aesthetic, except there are a bunch of spider webs all over the entire front there. Very simple, but I love how they sort of catch the light and look really nice and glossy. Now of course on the bottom there you do have a neon drenched sort of cityscape, and I really do like the way that looks. It kind of works with the theme of the movie itself. So too does this sort of really vibrant pop art style piece on the back there. Now of course we're not really here to talk about the box art, more so the figure herself, and you're probably wondering, why on earth did I want to pick up this one, knowing full well a Hot Toys release is coming very soon, and of course the Young Rich Toys one as well. And don't worry, we will be comparing this figure to the Young Rich Toys Miles throughout the course of this video, but the main reason is she's available now, and it's always good to have multiple different versions of figures, especially if you are getting unhelmeted and unmasked head sculpts like we are with this one, and of course the Hot Toys release as well, so you can mix and match pieces. And say for instance you want to use this one for your crazy posing, have the Hot Toys one for the not so crazy posing, you can definitely do that. Now right off the bat, first impressions are pretty darn positive. I love the feeling of this material. It feels really supple, but also it feels like it will be sturdy enough to stand the test of time when it comes to some poses. And don't worry, we will be doing the trademark 3 poses towards the end of the video, so definitely hang around right till the end. And of course we will be taking a much closer look at the figure itself in just a second. Now of course she does come with a bunch of accessories, including a display base, which might I say looks pretty darn awesome. But what we're going to do now is get all of this stuff laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything she comes with. And here we have all of the accessories that come with Gwen Stacy. Now as you can see, she doesn't come with a hell of a lot of stuff. The bare bones, in my opinion, that you'd give a Gwen Stacy figure. Unlike the recently announced Hot Toys figure, she comes with an entirely separate character as an accessory, being Spider-Ham, and of course Young Rich Toys, the multiple head sculpts, and the civilian outfit. This just seems a little bit basic, but then again, this is the first on the market, so they have the benefit of being first. Now let's take a look at the display base. It looks pretty darn awesome. I love the design being a Hot Toys style. It fits really nicely alongside your recent Hot Toys releases because they all kind of use this style of display base. I love the print on the top. It's a very nice sort of neon drenched look of a cityscape, just like we've seen in the movie. Unfortunately though, there is no name tag. That is something that you can fix, but I kind of wish they just throw in one that you can stick on there fresh out of the box without having to go ahead and modify this yourself. Now unfortunately she just comes with a crotch grabber. I would have really liked a dynamic flight pole so you can get her into some really awesome web swinging acrobatic poses, because the figure really can do it, which you'll see a little bit later in the video. But at the very least they could have taken this out and given you a waist grabber so you can still have her in the air. But nevertheless, I love the design of the base itself. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt. The biggest elephant in the room, in my opinion. Honestly, I don't think it's completely terrible. It's not complete rubbish. There are certain elements, such as, of course, the eyes. They look a little bit cross-eyed on camera, but trust me, you have to trust me on this. In person, they don't look anywhere near as bad, and the reason for that is the rounded actual eyes themselves kind of make it look a little bit bulbous, but in person, it really doesn't look that bad. They are rounded. I don't know why. I think they should have been flatter, but you can definitely see it from certain angles. The likeness is there. The teeth look a little bit janky, but then again, as I said, from certain angles, it's not too terribly awful. Don't get me wrong, the Hot Toys one is way better, and so is the Young Rich Toys offerings, but for now, this is perfectly serviceable. I don't know why there isn't any handprint on the side there, but still, the rest of it nicely sculpted, painted, and detailed, including the actual roots on the hair itself. It looks pretty darn good, especially from a distance. Now, let's take a look at the backpack. Here you have it. It's pretty straightforward. It looks a little bit sort of janky in the way they've done it. I don't know what kind of material they've chosen, but it looks a little bit ratty and sort of goes all over the place. It's not the cleanest looking backpack. I think they could have done slightly better, but for a throwaway kind of accessory I won't be using, this is definitely going to be staying in the box. Now, let's take a look at the webbing. You get a couple of different options. Of course, the usual Hot Toy style Spidey funnel and 2 web accessories. Not any more than just 2, unfortunately. They could have given us the usual tray that we get with all of the Spidey figures. In fact, that's what Young Rich Toys did. So if you do want to actually use the Young Rich Toys webs with your Gwen Stacy, that's something you could do. Now, mine are supremely warped out of the box. I don't know why. You can heat them up in some hot water, straighten them out, pop them in the freezer, and they'll be all set. But fresh out of the box, they are supremely warped, but they do just plug into the web shooters quite nicely. Now, this one's a bit weird. I don't know if something went wrong in the molding process, or it's supposed to be one that she holds in the middle, but then again, there is a little peg on the bottom there that pegs into the web shooter, so this sort of clear section in the middle there is a little bit out of place. Now, she does come with 4 additional hands. That's it. No more than that. Some other hands would have been nice, but nevertheless, she does come with 4. They are pretty basic, just white sculpted, but they are all at least very unique sculpts. I've never seen anything like these for any other figures, which is quite good. That means that they've paid attention to detail and gotten these just right. They are white, and they definitely do the job. Either way, that's about it for the accessories. What we're going to do now is get the figure herself out here and take a closer look. And here we have Gwen Stacy herself standing straight up and down the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And first and foremost, I want to apologize for having to be slightly more zoomed in than usual. You can't really see the entire figure. It's just the nature of the black background, unfortunately. It's a little bit smaller than the usual white one, so I can't show you from head to toe. But hopefully, towards the end of the video, when you see slightly more poses, I'll have her more crunched down, so you'll be able to see the entire figure. But nevertheless, you can see enough, in my opinion, to see how good this thing looks in hand. I was actually surprised initially when I did that unboxing segment at how good this thing feels for a third-party Spidey-style figure. We haven't gotten a lot. I mean, we've gotten the Venom from BulletHead yet again, and of course the Young Rich Toys Miles, but other than that, not a hell of a lot of Spidey-style stuff from third-party figures, and I do believe that's because it's technically a little bit harder. You have to balance articulation to make sure that they can move in the way that they should, and of course the suits are a hell of a lot more intricate, but I have to say, BulletHead has nailed it here. The color is on point, the black and the stark white, and you'll see in just a second, the detail is there as well. Those tiny little triangles all throughout the entire suit, just like with the Hot Toys one, is present. And of course, the other additional details with the very subtle but also very, very vibrant red underneath the inside sections of the arms, and of course, inside the hood, it just pops. The entire thing looks stunning. And of course, that subtle pop of color down there on the feet with the ballet shoes looks awesome. Either way, what we're going to do now is punch in and take a closer look at the details. And here we have Gwen Stacy up close and personal. Now let's take a look at the detail on the figure itself. Now I have to say, this subtle but also not quite so subtle texture all over the entire suit looks absolutely bang on. I did do some research, I looked at a couple of pictures of the suit in the movie, and yes, it did have this triangle texture all over the entire thing. I don't honestly know what type of material this is that BulletHead have used on the figure, but I wish Hot Toys would use it, because this pretty much heals instantly. If we bend the elbow and leave it like that for a few minutes while we talk about the rest of the figure and then unbend it, you'll see what I mean. But either way, you can see the black and white textures are definitely present. There are also some lines sort of sculpted over the top, and you'll see that on the bodice as well. Now, unfortunately, I don't know what it is about these third-party manufacturers. Ace Toys did it with their figures, now BulletHead are doing it here. You can see some anatomy. Yes, that's accurate to the real human form. I'm not really complaining about that, but it's a little bit too accurate in my personal opinion for a 1/6 scale figure, and it is quite obvious under direct lighting. Don't worry, when you have it posed up in your display cabinet, it's not quite so obvious. Now, let's take a look at the head sculpt itself. It is pretty basic, it's just a white style head sculpt, but you can see the lenses are really nice and glossy. There is a subtle honeycomb texture throughout them as well. I do really like this hot pink surrounding the lenses. It adds a nice pop of color. So too does the hood. It's made out of a very silky style material with the web pattern on the inside there, and it's made of this neon sort of bluish green, which is accurate to the character and very nicely ties into the shoes. Now, the big benefit about this hood is that it's entirely wired for the entire frontage, so you can get it to sit just right. In my opinion, that looks fantastic. Now, let's undo our experiment and unbend the elbow, and here you can see it. It's perfectly smooth, no wrinkles at all, and that's throughout the entire thing. You can pretty much pose this thing, then unpose it, and instantaneously, it's healed, it's flawless. I don't know what type of material this is, but it's fantastic. This is a huge plus, in my opinion, for this figure. Now, the web shooters themselves do have little pegs on the inside there, so you can install the webs. These are actually the advanced suit Spidey web shooters. I'm pretty sure they've been recast, but they definitely do the job. They're pretty basic. They're just straight up white web shooters. Either way, what we're going to do now is pan the camera down and take a look at the rest of the outfit. Now, obviously, for the legs on Gwen, it's made of the exact same style material. I really like how the black looks. It's super sort of glossy and reflective, and the triangle pattern is there throughout the entire thing. Again, it's made of that sort of instant healing material. No matter how much I seem to bend it and then unbend it, it heals immediately. Even on really sort of scrunched up areas like the legs themselves, I'll unbend it, and instantaneously, there are no creases or marks at all. I'm just absolutely blown away. This is so weird. It never happens like this. Even on Hot Toys figures, you'll bend the leg on your tech suit Spidey, unbend him, the wrinkles will be there for a bit, and then they'll go away. This thing is otherworldly in the way it acts. There are no wrinkles at all. It's insane, and I love it. And so too do I love the shoes themselves. They are really nicely done. They are separate pieces, toe and heel, and the straps are actually material, so they can move around when you are flexing the ankle. They don't kind of get in the way, and they do flex quite nicely. But yes, either way, whatever material they're using, whatever sort of black magic they're using to get this suit to heal instantly, whatever it is, I wish Hot Toys would pick up a roll of this material to use on their Spidey figures. And now, bringing out the young rich Miles for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have Gwen and Miles standing together. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. I'm so very glad that I picked up this BulletHead release, and yes, I will be picking up the others as well, so stay tuned. Just like the various Joker figures, there will be, I'm sure, a bunch of Gwen Stacy, Miles reviews coming up on the channel as well. In fact, a bunch of Spider-Verse reviews in general, and I'm not going to be one to complain about it because these figures so far have set the bar very, very high. These two standing together look fantastic. The height looks about on point, and I do like that they are very different in terms of style. You have this more sort of chunky aesthetic on Miles being a really cartoony style body because you can see most of the actual figure itself, whereas on Gwen, she's entirely covered, so she looks a little bit more sleek. Her ankles are a lot slimmer. Of course, it's a completely different style body, and that works so very nicely. Visual differentiation on the shelf is the key when we're looking at a figure line. They complement each other, yes, but they also look entirely different, which is a huge plus in my opinion. This line has been going from strength to strength, and yes, I know they are from completely different companies, but the fact that they can work together so very well has me really darn excited for what else is coming down the line. Just going over articulation on the BulletHead Gwen Stacy. Now, I'm going to be a little bit more careful. This is my personal copy of the figure. I've paid for it with my own money. If you you get yours in hand and want to push the joints a little bit further than I'm willing to go, that's totally fine, but just do so at your own risk. Now, starting off with the head sculpt itself, it is on a separate neck peg, so it does get the pretty much full range of motion. Going backwards and forwards can bury the chin quite nicely, and as I said, going back as well, swivel and pivot side to side. Now, for the arms, they are pretty much unrestricted all the way up, and of course all the way forward as well. You can then rotate the suit and then get it to go even higher, so a fairly decent range of motion. Now, in terms of the butterfly joint, yes, it is there. Swivel at the upper bicep, a really nice bend there at the elbow itself, a double bend if you will, and of course a regular 1/6 scale joint at the hand. Now, this body is kind of a seamless style body, but it definitely does the job. Going forwards, not as much, but going back, a huge amount, so you can definitely get those sort of leaping poses, and that's great for a Spider-Man style figure. Now, the legs are also done in a bit of a weird way. There's kind of like a rubber covering over here, so when you push the legs up, they sort of go into the body. It's a bit of a weird one, and not one that I've seen before, but you can't argue with the results. It goes all the way up, and of course it goes all the way out as well. Swivel at the thigh, which is actually surprisingly stiff on mine, and you don't get a hell of a lot of range. You do though get a bunch of range out of the knee all the way up, and of course lastly down at the feet, a pivot as well. I did initially think that these were going to be actual toe articulation points, but on mine they don't move. I don't know why, I don't know if they're supposed to be. I actually forced this one and I do think it kind of broke, but now I do have a joint in there. I wouldn't really advise doing that because out of the box they don't really feel like they're supposed to move. Just wrapping up on the BulletHead Gwen Stacy figure. Now, going into this review, I really didn't know what to expect. We've only ever had one other figure from the company, being of course their Venom, and while it was pretty darn good, it wasn't mind-blowing in terms of quality. It had a few questionable things, especially with the display base, whereas this figure, fast forward to today, the company clearly has learned a lot. This figure is amazing. I am super impressed with the amount of effort and attention to detail they put into this figure right here, all the way down to the choice of body, so there's optimal articulation, and the suit itself being made from a really awesome, very flexible, and it seems like sturdy material. It's a huge plus for BulletHead. I now definitely have my eye firmly focused on them going forward to see what else they've got coming up. Now, this is another hit for the third-party Spider-Verse line of figures. The Young Rich Miles was amazing. This figure is equally as such, although it doesn't come with anywhere near as much stuff. I can't wait to compare this figure to the Young Rich outing, because as we know, that Young Rich Miles figure was absolutely fantastic, especially when it comes to all of the tiny little bits and pieces and additional accessories that he came with, so I can't wait to see where the rest of their line is going. But for now, if you want a really nice, very posable figure of Gwen from Spider-Verse, because you don't want to really pose up your Hot Toys one when she comes out, or if you're just impatient like me, this one is in stock with toyswonderland.com, and the link for that is down in the description below. Now, bear in mind, it is third party and it is unlicensed. That means the company BulletHead doesn't hold the intellectual property rights to call this figure Gwen Stacy, or indeed put any of the Spider-Man branding on the box. This isn't a promotional video, this is a product that I purchased with my own money that's available on the open market. This is straight up just a review. Now, while you are down in the description, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the brand new awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.